Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Floors talk on valuing creativity and monetizing your craft. Well, there's a tiny bit of feedback, so if someone doesn't mind muting just for now. So this is part of our monthly theme of events, all about the holistic creator. So having mind in school, valuing creativity, and having the confidence to put a price tag on your creativity too. So hey, I'm Abigail, but please call me Abby. I'm in the marketing and events team for The Floor. And yeah, this is our panel. Hi, Asma, Anna, and Josh. I'm going to get you guys to introduce yourselves in a second, but I just want to also say hi to everyone at home because you're listening and watching either on Facebook, The Floor, or YouTube. And that's amazing. Please put your comments in the comment section, ask questions, just say hi, and we'll put it to the panel. So yeah, I would love for you guys to introduce yourselves and maybe just tell everyone what you've been up to in the past 12 months. Josh, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. My name's Josh. I play in a band called the Skints, and we have been a band for quite a long time now. We tour around the world and make records and have a lot of fun. Well, we did before COVID. Yeah, I also go out and DJ. And yeah, in the last 12 months, obviously the band hasn't been on the road, which is our life really. So we've been doing everything we can off the road, and yeah, I've been doing like some other work and stuff as well, just to make it happen.
Because you're a DJ on the side as well.
Yeah, so basically everything that I do income-wise revolves around people getting sweaty in a room, which obviously has been off the cards for a little while now. So yeah.
Yeah, totally. And Asma, how about you?
Hi, my name's Asma. I'm a tattoo artist, and for the last 12 months, I've been very bored. So yeah, we've been obviously shut because of lockdown, and in that time, I've just kind of been in tune with nature as much as I can. So yeah.
I love that because you own a tattoo shop as well, don't you?
Yeah, so it was just like the worst time to open a shop, really. But it is what it is. So hopefully, fingers crossed, next month we'll open.
Yeah, and you, Anna?
So I'm Anna. I run a marketing agency called Ultraviolet and have been working with a ton of really interesting creators and brands over the years. Obviously, things got a little bit different the last 12 months. What have I been doing? I've launched different parts of my business to kind of move away a little bit from like the influencer side of things and to kind of like commercial side of brand marketing and more towards like research and development. So that's been quite exciting. I also launched another business, a whole other business, completely different and unrelated. And so I've kept myself fairly busy with just things I can do while I'm sat indoors, tip-tapping away on my laptop, basically.
Yeah, definitely. Time well spent, I think. And I should also say that I'm also outside of The Floor. I'm a freelancer, so I kind of have a thought or two about monetizing, trying to work out my fees and all that kind of stuff. I know generally we are going to inevitably come back to COVID quite a lot. I do want to talk quite generally as well. And I do want to make sure that we talk not just to creatives, but to fans as well, because I think it's all connected to each other. It's important that creatives get paid, but it's also important that fans understand that and the connection between them and what they're putting their money towards as well. But yeah, I'm going to start with a COVID question as well. Both creatively and personally, how did you stay grounded during lockdown? I'm going to go straight back to Anna.
That's a good question. I mean, I didn't a lot of the time. I partied quite hard in the first lockdown. It was, the sun was shining. I live with a couple of people who I love and are a lot of fun. So we partied a lot. That was a little bit unsustainable. I think by the time autumn hit, we all realized that this wasn't really going anywhere. I also just kind of thought to myself, like, the whole world is in complete disarray. I'm not going to kill myself to try and, be active and to push business that nobody can do and nobody can engage with. So I just took it as a little bit of time off originally. And then, to be honest with you, that really just gave me a little bit of breathing space and gave me an opportunity to be like, right, you know, the world has completely changed. We're not going to come out of this anytime soon. What can I do to make my stamp on this little part of life, right? This little kind of COVID pandemic moment. What can I do to kind of like make things a little bit better in the world, you know? So come like autumn time, I was like, right, I got to get my skates on and start doing some actual work. So that's when we launched one of the businesses. That's when I launched, I planned the launch, which is coming at the end of this month, for the research and development side of the business. And that's really, I think that was it. I think just keeping a bit of balance. I'd say that's how I stayed grounded, was like a little bit of balance between like the fun and the serious stuff. And, you know, if there are people who are on Instagram or whatever who are saying, you know, I woke up and I did 20 pitches today and I did this and I did that, like, you don't have to feel like if you're not doing that, you're somehow failing. Like, this is a completely, and I hate to use this word, like unprecedented time. So just allowing yourself just to give in and just be like, fuck this, I'm going to chill for a bit, and then and then give yourself those times to then focus if you need to, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, I say like during lockdown as if it's like a past thing. We are still in it in London. Yeah. So I know we've had a break, but it's pretty much been like 12 months of this. So well done to everyone for getting through it, basically. I'm going to throw to Asma.
Yeah, I kind of agree with what you just said there, in terms of, at first I thought, oh my God, okay, cool. So business is closed. What can I do in the meantime to make money? And obviously that was a priority. But at the same time, I agree. I kind of just relaxed for a bit, you know? I feel like we really deserve just some time to ourselves to kind of figure ourselves out, or just to breathe, you know? And especially after this whole pressure of being open and certain things were allowed at a certain point, and then going back into lockdown again, I think that was quite hard hitting. So in general, I think, yeah, it was just a case of, look, whether I need to make some art prints on the side or interact with my fans every day, whether that's, you know, just showing them what I've been up to, or selling some sort of deals for when we do open. And then alongside that, yeah, first lockdown, just making the most of the weather. And obviously now we've got winter, so it's just been a little bit harder to get out there and appreciate going for a walk, or, you know, getting wet when you're just going to the post office. But yeah, getting out as much as I could. I think that's definitely how I occupied myself.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about the post office queues. I don't know
yeah.
if it's London or what, but those queues are going around the block, and I'm just like, no one needs posts from me. It's fine.
No.
How about you, John?
Yeah, so it was a weird one for me. So basically at the start of lockdown, well, actually I should say before the UK went into lockdown, the band actually got back from tour about 10 days, 2 weeks before we went into lockdown, which we were actually really lucky for, because number one, you know, I know people that actually got caught short on the road, like as all the lockdowns were coming in. So we were lucky to like get home and not have shows cancelled during the actual lockdown. And two, like also, you know, also like it was a tour where we like finished like up, so it wasn't a case of like we were about to go out, had spent a load of money on like hotels, whatever else you need to spend money on, and then, you know, we were lucky in that respect. But yeah, so as we were going into lockdown, me and my partner were actually in the process of buying a flat, so that whole situation kind of was like, on a personal side, was like a big kind of distraction from the kind of normal, like engaged professional necessity. It was more kind of like a scramble to make that happen, and you know, figure out the rest later. So yeah, so on the music side of things, we've just kind of been doing what we would be doing, which is like, you know, selling merch, selling vinyl, pushing that as much as possible. We started a thing called the Nice Time Club, which is like a kind of subscription fan club. I know like a lot of people have kind of done like the Patreon thing and stuff this year, but we kind of wanted it to go for our own website, and we kind of basically did our own sort of spin on that, really. But yeah, obviously, yeah, then, but on the personal side, like, you know, getting a place and kind of nesting, whatever you want to call it, and then yeah, having to do other stuff to figure out how to pay a mortgage as well was kind of yeah, like face to the fire kind of. make it happen situation.
Yeah, totally. I totally understand. And yeah, Asma, you opened up an Etsy shop, didn't you, to kind of adapt to lockdown, which is a really cool idea.
Yeah, it was just kind of there so I could connect with people, but also, again, like Josh just said, kind of paying your rent, really. And yeah, whether it's like prints or being creative, I just basically thought, you know what, I'm gonna put my foot down and just put some of my artwork on Etsy and just see how it goes.
Yeah, totally. I've got to say, one of the things, like, I definitely went through the whole phases that you were talking about, Anna, where I was like, I'm going to do like 10 projects in one day. And then I didn't do anything for 2 weeks. And I was like, oh my God, I've done nothing for 2 weeks. I really went through like the mental like struggles of like finding balance in a brand new world. But I've got to say, like, I keep my old phones whenever I get a new phone because I lose them at festivals. I'm a bit clumsy, I break it. So I always keep one. And I have to say the best thing for me was having that separation, which I still have to this day, of having a work phone and a normal phone. So my normal phone has no notifications on it. It only has WhatsApp and calling. That's it. And so it's great to look at a phone and not be inundated with all this stuff that going back onto social media. And I found that really helped me to like just have that separation and just not be sucked into social media, which I still was, who wasn't during this time. But yeah, I definitely use that as my way to stay grounded. And if anybody is in a lucky enough position to have two phones, I would totally like say that as well. It's like a freelancer secret.
I did delete some social media off my phone for a bit, especially in those early stages when it was like we were being bombarded with people who were like, you know, building a couple of businesses on the side or using this time to do X, Y, Z. And when you're just sat there and you're like kind of feeling this inertia about the world and like what's going on, you kind of just don't need that negativity in your life. I was like, you guys can just disappear for a bit. I don't need to be staring at my phone scrolling because there's nothing else to do. So if you're scrolling, you just end up scrolling all day or for hours and hours and hours because there's nothing to stop you. So yeah, I did delete them for a bit as well. Got a bit of headspace.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. Yeah, toxic's a good word. So even then, 12 months ago and currently, it's really, really hard for people to motivate themselves. And I feel like it's quite an isolated time for creatives because I'm going to say it, even the government aren't showing us love and showing us that they have our backs. So I was just wondering whether you guys have any tips for people who are struggling to feel creative and motivated, but also to know their worth, because yeah, this chat is also about valuing yourself. So yeah, if you have any tips that we can offer like the viewers in terms of valuing themselves, that would be great. Josh?
Yeah, it's a good one. I would actually honestly probably put myself like in that camp a bit, you know, to be real. Like, you know, this when lockdown first came in, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna write 3 albums, no worries, all this stuff. And then, you know, that doesn't happen, and then you can kind of beat yourself up about it later. So yeah, I think, you know, it's definitely staying in touch with like your kind of creative tribe, I think, is like pretty important as well, you know, for kind of inspiration and just like general like camaraderie too, you know. Like for me, usually we're out like just meeting and hanging out with so many people, whether we know them already or not, that do the same thing, and you kind of like you're going through like the life journey, like kind of being like reaffirmed with like the belief that you're like not there's, you know, there's others like me as well that do this like crazy thing or whatever. And then when you don't see those guys for months on end, or maybe you don't really talk to them on the phone like you would just seeing them like normal, yeah, it can definitely feel a bit like, am I the only crazy person that's still trying to do this kind of thing, you know, in a lockdown scenario. So yeah, I think, you know, being kind to yourself, and like I think as well, again, not to use the word unprecedented, but like it's been such like a mad unknown thing that I don't think there is like a right way, or like, you know, there's no like blueprint for any of this. So I think, you know, health and happiness is number one, and whatever you're going to do, whether it's during or out the other side, it's going to be the right thing for you personally.
Yeah, totally. Anna?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the exact same thing. Like I feed off other people's energy. Like I'm fundamentally an extrovert. Like I need to be around people. Even though I've worked by myself and built a business on my own for a couple of years before lockdown, I still had really amazing clients that I would connect with and engage with every day, or other creatives, other people in the industry. I'd be going to events and meeting people all the time and just out and about, or just like, working in London, you're constantly running across the city, getting in touch with people all the time, and like suddenly having to kind of like think in a silo and be creative in a silo and try and work even. I really, really struggled. And once I started making a point of connecting with people and like properly connecting with them, not just commenting on their posts, but like calling them up, arranging to have meetings with people, even if it's just like, we've got nothing we actually need to meet about, but like we used to chat all the time, or I would have seen you at an event and I haven't seen you for ages, let's just have a catch up. And I would always find myself coming away from those like feeling so much more energized. Even if we didn't talk about anything specific to do with work, I would find myself so much more motivated to work, or it sparked a little bit of creativity for my next campaign or my next project. So absolutely, like try and connect with people as much as you can. Yeah, on FaceTime, Zoom, but on the phone, even just like WhatsApping them, like just some kind of like one-to-one interaction with all those people that we've just like lost, basically.
Yeah, I've got to say, when I've been going to the park for my walks, I've been ringing like a core few people. But the other day I rang someone who I speak to quite a lot messaging wise, but I haven't spoken to on the phone for a while. And I came off the phone and I was like buzzing. I was like, oh my God, I have like a new lease of life. I'm going to go back to work now and like the rest of the day, like really pumped, because you were just listening to someone else. And it was just, yeah, so like revitalizing. But Anna, I also wanted to know, because you have experience and a lot of experience of looking after talent and like influencers, what do you do when it comes to like making sure they value themselves as like creators? How do you guide them?
It is a real challenge, and that's partly why people bring me on, because it's easier for me to say, it's easier for me to negotiate with a client or with a brand for them than it is for them. If someone's coming back to you and saying, actually, I think you're worth X amount, but you said, actually, I'm worth Y, and someone's trying to negotiate you on that, that can be quite difficult. That can be quite difficult when you're putting your heart and soul into your work and someone's telling you, I don't think it's worth it. Or you're trying to monetize it and you're like, okay, it's taken me 20 minutes to draw this image, but it's taken me 15 years to get my style. Like, where do I find the balance with that value? It can be a real challenge, and it can be very difficult. I think if you're creative and you're a creator, and I'm sure you guys, Asma and Josh, you can attest to this, like you are fans of other creatives and other creators, and you would look at them and say, I absolutely want to pay for that, and I absolutely think your work is deserving of that. And kind of, if you just flip it and you're like, right, why don't I talk to myself the way I would talk to that person? Why don't I value my work the way I would value theirs? And try and, if you're finding it difficult to put a price tag or to find where your kind of price point is or how much you're worth, look at somebody who you admire and you say, how much would I pay for that? Or how much do I think they should be paid for that? And then use that.
That's great advice, definitely. Asma, how about you?
What was the original question again?
Oh, so it's basically, do you have any tips for creatives who are struggling to stay motivated, but also to value themselves, like know their worth?
Yes. I think it's really good to kind of treat whatever you do, whether it's little or big, towards your goal, whether it's, I don't know, music or art or whatever your expression is, to just treat it as a success, I think I personally, and I'm sure everybody else does this as well, I really put myself down sometimes if I haven't achieved a drawing the way I wanted to achieve it, if that makes sense. Or just looking at a vision and being like, right, why is it not perfect? And yeah, just treating whatever you have, whether it's making a list towards something, whether it's writing a project down and even not accomplishing it yet, just putting your ideas out there and just expressing yourself, whether it's on paper. And like you said, I think it helped me a lot as well, just calling up people, you know, it really helps. I think we lose that connection during this crazy time. And when you do connect again, that energy really kind of just makes you feel a little bit more alive. Yeah.
Yeah, great. I was wondering whether you guys have ever undervalued the cost of your work and how you combated that. Josh?
That's a good question. I mean, yeah, maybe like, I don't know, getting paid less for a show than maybe we should, or maybe like a festival booking or something where you say yes because you're told like, oh, that's all there was in the budget. And then actually, no, I got an example. Yeah, there was one festival we did where like we maybe didn't have like the best billing on the stage. We were maybe like a third of the way through the day or something, and we had probably one of the, like, I think maybe until the headliner, the biggest audience of the day. And then you're kind of looking at, you know, and that was down to kind of music industry politics, where it was like, okay, cool, everyone, a lot of the other people might have been like new signing to X label, or, you know, maybe like I've got this kind of playlist on Radio 1 or whatever, or the front cover of the NME that week. And so politically in that festival's billing, we were kind of put lower, but actually when it came to it, we was one of the ones that actually had a fan base, right? Even though it wasn't necessarily in kind of a more publicized mainstream level. Yeah, and then you kind of realizing that, oh wow, this many people came to see us, and then you're realizing what you actually said yes for the fee, and then you say, all right, not next time.
Yeah, totally. How about you, Asma?
100%. I feel like there's been times where during the time I was an apprentice, before actually tattooing people for money, it was quite daunting when you know, okay, you've just done some free little doodles on your mates and a few people that you trust, to then actually being like, whoa, this tattoo is actually X amount. It's just weird, isn't it? It's weird when you sometimes look at your own stuff and you're kind of just like, is it worth that much, you know? And then in the end, when you actually, well, when I started the business side of things, having my own studio, I realized, yeah, like things cost money, and at the end of the day, you kind of have to cover your own back. So yeah, I kind of learned the value of costing your actual work through that.
Yeah, and I think that's something we talked about on the phone before this, Josh, wasn't it? It was like, especially in the DIY independent music industry as well, you know what it's like to work to really, really tough budgets. And I think I remember you saying, like, when it came to giving support bands fees, until you were in that position, you were like, oh, now I understand the constraints of a budget and how that budget feeds to so many people as well.
Yeah, totally.
That's crazy.
Yes. What? So?
Oh, sorry.
So did you want me to open up that?
Yeah, if you had any insight on that as well.
Yeah, I think on the music side of things, I think like going in, especially nowadays, like there's definitely a lot of rhetoric when it comes to like your value of people going like, okay, cool, well, my value that I want it to be is like this amount of money, and you know, and that's totally cool. But in certain situations, like I understand, like, you know, building up and having a value, but like what you want and the actual worth, like sometimes can be conflicting, especially like you said, like in a budget scenario where, you know, if you're a support band and you're like, well, we're worth this much, and then, you know, there's like a support budget and there's a headline band that they're going to sell the tickets anyway. So like, it's kind of a like, okay, you can play to these people and accept this amount of money, or you can say what you're worth and say no and play to nobody. until someone pays you that worth, which until a lot of people have seen you, probably isn't going to happen. So it's kind of a fine line. It's a bit of a dance, if you like, kind of between that, like not underselling yourself, but like also understanding like how far the money can actually go, and maybe, you know, this amount of people at this many tickets at this price is how much money there is. But then when you break it down, that's how much money is actually left, and that might not be what your quote unquote value is. But if you want to do it or not, that's kind of what it is. So
yeah, it's probably treating every like individual kind of experience, like, you know, weighing up the options and, you know, looking at everything individually, kind of, in a way.
100%. And like, you know, and recognizing that there's a difference between if there's some like you know, if there's a kid in a small town somewhere that's got a venue and they just really want to put on a show and they're trying to kind of start a scene, and like who they can get in the room and how much they're going to charge, that's different than if X festival has got some big drink sponsor for a stage, and how much money is in that. You know what I mean? You kind of need to, like, going around, I think, with one set price can actually hold you back sometimes, and kind of deny you like cool opportunities, and on the other hand, like undersell yourself in certain situations as well. So I think you kind of maybe just got to do your homework a bit on the music side of kind of where the money's coming from and how it's going to break down.
Yeah, totally. That makes sense. Anna, going back to the original question, have you ever undervalued the cost of your work?
Yeah, definitely. So, and it also goes back to that exact same thing. Like if you're working with brands, for example, you know, I work with a ton of creators, and I've also gone to work with brands, and, you know, worked with them as a freelancer and as a marketing agency. And there's like, it's the same sort of thing. Like if it's a massive brand and I know they've got loads of money behind them, I will charge a different price to if it's somebody who I'm trying to support, I'm trying to help them grow, I'm trying to help them you know, make a name for themselves, and it's something that I can see the value in outside of the financial benefit to me. Like I will charge a slightly different price, and it will be the same with the creators that I support. If we're going to work with, you know, Adidas versus, you know, an independent clothing brand that's like ethical and sustainable and all this other stuff, and they've got much less money, then the value, the price that we'll put on their work will be different. But that's because the creator or me or whoever, you know, whoever's being paid the fee is getting a different value out of it as well as just a financial one. So like, I do think that's an important thing. Like, you know, Josh, if you want to help that scene grow, actually that will help you in the long run as well, because then there'll be a scene for you to go and play to for more money. There's more fans for you to buy your merch, to buy your records. And it'll be the same if you help a business, you help a brand kind of kick off and get started. Then, you know, the idea is that further down the line, they'll be much bigger, that industry will be much bigger, and it'll have much more money to pay you. But obviously, like, if you've got to pay the bills, you've got to find the right time to like divert your attention and your time to things that will pay you, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So something that I really wanted to put to you, so I'm so glad that I've given the space to be able to do it. Creators that I know sometimes feel guilty about putting a price tag on a gig, an exhibition, their work, tattoo, you know, whatever it might be. I really want to like combat that, because, you know, creators do deserve to get paid. And even if your friend is coming to your gig, you know, they should be paying. You know, we all love a guest list every now and then, you know, not gonna lie, I've been on many. But yeah, I'm just wondering how we can combat this to make sure that creators do get paid. Asma, do you have any thoughts on this?
It's such a difficult one, because every single time I've had a friend come through the door or ever booked in with me, I've always given them mates rates. And I don't know why I do it. I don't know whether it's like instinct, or I'm like, oh, I feel a bit bad because I know you and I don't want to charge you the full amount. I have no idea why it's there. I want to know myself, to be fair. But you're right. I think I'm trying to understand that myself. I'm not going to lie. I don't think I'm there yet. And it's something that I'm trying to solve myself. So I have first-hand experience of that, but I just don't know. I think maybe it's time, maybe it's experience. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. Anna?
I think the guilt is a funny word as well. And I think I think it all comes back to like undervaluing. The only reason you'd feel guilty about charging someone that money is if you're undervaluing your work. And so I think it comes back to the idea of like, how would you feel? Like, Asma, how would you feel if you're getting a tattoo of somebody whose art you really appreciate and you love? You'd want to pay them because you appreciate the work that's gone into it. And that's how your friends feel as well. You know, they're coming to you because they love your work and they want to pay you what you're worth. So, you know, if they want to haggle, your mates, I'm sure you'll be open to it as well. But like, I think going back to that idea of like, put yourself in the shoes of a creator that you admire, would you ask them for a guest list, or would you pay the 15 quid to go to their gig? I don't know, like maybe it's probably not 15 quid, like 60 quid, whatever it is, you know, like you wouldn't haggle that. You wouldn't ask for a guest list because you want to go and you want to see it, or you want a piece of their art or whatever it is. So put yourself in their shoes and then, you know, stand firm. And it takes practice. You know, people get weird about money. People are weird about money. It takes practice. You got to get the sweaty palms. You got to like push the needle. You got to get the butterflies, and you just got to push through it anyway and just ask. And if they want to come back, then they can. But put your number on the table, I think.
Yeah, totally. And Josh?
Yeah, I think it's for me, it's kind of, it's like, it's circumstantial. Do you know what I mean? It's like if it's you know, a situation where like you said, like a guest list, if we know, you know, that it's a situation where like they're absolutely giving the guest list away, we'll probably invite who we wanted to invite anyway. And you know, if it's someone that like wants like a free this or free that, I think if you're the person that's actually looking at the spreadsheet and you know the financial situation of your business, you know that freeness, like that's basically me wearing it. Like I'm now paying for you because that's going to come out the bottom line. So like it's not really a free thing. It's free for you, but then I'm paying for it. So I think if you kind of have a word with yourself like that, maybe that can kind of put it in perspective a bit. And also, you know, I think, you know, sometimes there's things like maybe there's like a specialist radio DJ that kind of does your genre of music, and you invite them and you know, okay, cool. Well, we're basically buying this person a ticket, but if they come and they really like it and they play our tune next week, maybe that was kind of, that's, you know, you can maybe think about things like that. But if it's just your mates that have got like normal jobs anyway, you know, unless it's you inviting them, you know. And I think as well, it's like the mate thing can kind of get a bit blurry. That's why I don't really use Facebook anymore. Like I find my Facebook Messenger is just kind of a list of people that I don't really know, like asking me for things. You know, whether that is guest list or the dreaded collabs or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, just kind of know. I think it depends who it is and who you're dealing with. But if it's a situation where money is coming out of your pocket, don't feel guilty about that.
Yeah, totally. And I think sometimes with guest lists, like in particular, I feel like it is like you would give it to like someone who supported you and has actually paid for like numerous amount of gigs in your time. Like from my experience, it's definitely worked that way. It's just like, yeah, you can come for free because you are literally like a lifelong supporter, and like I understand that. So yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, on a similar note, I really want to touch on that thing I said earlier about from the fan and from like the customer or like the client perspective. I think that not only do creators give a lot away for free at the moment because of social media and the digital world, but I also think that fans have come to expect a lot of things for free. So I'm just wondering what message we could and should be putting to fans and supporters to encourage supporting artists directly. Anna?
That is a very good question. I think I do think things are moving. The conversation is moving. I mean, with with the rise of things like Patreon and even things like OnlyFans and like people and the move away, you know, we understand how much things like Spotify take from creators, how much Instagram takes from creators. Like I think people are starting to get that this is work, and all of those places where you think you can access their stuff, quote unquote, for free, actually isn't supporting them in any way. And I do feel like the needle is moving towards people understanding that and paying directly for stuff. But yeah, I do think it's complicated. I think it's clear. I mean, also social media is like a blessing and a curse, because everything's so immediate and people expect to be able to see their favorite creator like there all day, every day, see their stuff, engage with them, send them DMs. But it also allows you to kind of to show the amount of work that goes into the stuff that you create as well, because they have that kind of like backstage pass essentially into whatever it is. If it's Asma, if it's you kind of like going over and over and over a design and changing it and tweaking it and analyzing it and then make it bigger, making it smaller, like seeing how it looks on the body, seeing how it moves, like all those things, you're allowing people can see that from you as well, and they can see how long it actually takes from start to finish, which you wouldn't have been able to see before. And it might have been easier for somebody, I suppose, to haggle or to ask for freebies, but if they can using these platforms, we can kind of show the amount of development that goes into the stuff that we create. So yeah, I think the conversation is moving towards that direction, and I suppose showing the value, or show it, that's not the right word, but showing, I suppose, the amount of work that goes into what seems like probably people think comes really naturally. Actually, it takes a lot of hard work and dedication.
Yeah, I definitely think a lot of people in lockdown, especially, you know, with the whole hashtag Save the Arts, people were a bit woken up to the fact that, you know, most of my entertainment, well, all my entertainment comes from people who work really hard for it. And it's like, I think, you know, a lot of things that we took from lockdown, one of them is definitely that bit of reflection and people just taking time out to understand things. Because like when you're working like 2 jobs and you've got kids and whatever your situation is, you just put on the TV, you don't think about what you're watching, but actually it gave you this view of like, oh, that comedian I love, I like really want to support them as well. And yeah, just what you said, I do think the lines between like fans and followers kind of blurs as well, because you know, everything right now is kind of put onto how many followers you have and how does that translate over to like buying music or buying like coming and actually visiting someone and getting a tattoo off them. It's really like it's quite a grey area in my opinion. Asma, do you want to add anything?
I think honestly, I've gone through the love and hate of social media as well, but I think what I've started to do is just not be too open, because I am a private person, but just kind of be real with people on my Instagram stories. Just be like, yep, this is me going on a walk. This is me brain dead because I can't come up with a design, you know? And just being a little bit more open with that journey of I'm literally the same as you guys, you know, being a creative. Yes, it you know, I have a job, I have a career, but at the same time, I am in lockdown too, you know. So yeah, just being realistic and just being a little bit open in that sense has kind of helped me. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. How about you, Josh?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. There's actually been like a question that has been like, you know, amongst my band and stuff, like asked a lot over our career, because you know we've existed since the value of music is 0. You know, I mean, you know, people do buy music and we do sell physical music, but I mean, especially amongst young people now, like music is free to them and they expect it to be free. You know what I mean? On the supply and demand scale, it's like the value of music is 0, and artists don't want to hear that, but it's the truth. And I think you know, encouraging people to support directly, it's really difficult, because I think you can the way that it's set up in order to be successful is that you're your own undoing in that. With the social media, you got to show everything that's good. You got to show like the audience that's like packed out, and you got to like show like the good numbers on the YouTube video and on the Instagram. And with that comes the follower or the fan thinking like, oh, these guys are killing it anyway, so someone else somewhere else is obviously buying their stuff. I can kind of just casually enjoy all the free stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm talking about the fringe people like outside of the core, but really, if those people knew the reality, they might spend some more money on you. So it's, yeah, it's something I've thought about quite a lot, and I think you can kind of catch yourself out like that. I think depending on the kind of artist you are, yeah, like Asma said, like keeping it real is obviously, you know, one thing, but then it's also from artist side of things, it's like it's treading the thing between like keeping it real and like not making it like unsexy to the point where you're like kind of begging for more support. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's a real, I think, you know, also now like something we try and do is like really putting effort into like the physical product for the people that do buy it as well, like making something worth something, where it's like making the vinyl like a nice like gatefold thing of different colors, or, you know, like a lot of people don't even do CDs anymore, but we probably sell more vinyl than CDs, and the CD is like less than the digital, but for the people that do buy it, they really love CDs. So like making like a nice like something that a CD buyer is going to really enjoy, and just kind of, I guess, like servicing people in that way. Yeah, it's kind of where we're at with that. But yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard kind of giving the image of like things are going great, and also like, oh my God, please help and buy our stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, you know, something I said to you when I was like, please come on this panel, is because you guys have been in the industry for so long, and like there's also this shift in the music industry where most of the funding came from buying merch. So, you know, that was a shift, and then it was like digital streaming and stuff. But I feel like you guys have always been super honest about that, and have been like, you know, this is kind of, you know, this is what we do for a living as well as it being our passion. So yeah, I think what you and Asma and Anna have said, it all kind of interconnects, doesn't it?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. I mean, I think for us, like with the kind of music we do, it's like, you know, the message is kind of honest, and we can kind of be honest where, you know, we're not really like selling an image of like wealth and abundance anyway. So we can kind of have that conversation. But I think for certain other types of music, can be really hard. Do you know what I mean? Especially if you're trying to like come across as a millionaire.
Yeah.
Or whatever. It's difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, I have so many more questions, but I am gonna squeeze a few of them out just before we wrap up. What have you guys learned from lockdown, whether it be creatively or like literally like I've learned a new skill, or like I've learned this about myself? Yeah, I just think we should try and end on a bit of positivity, try and squeeze some sort of positive message out of what's been happening over the last 12 months. And a friend said to me something really good, and it was like, you know, when we went into lockdown, there's a lot of things wrong with the world, and we've had a lot of time to reflect and like get into like the digital world, and some things have aligned, and we're allowed to not feel guilty about that and take that into the new world. So yeah, I'm just wondering what you guys feel about that, and what you've learned and what lockdown has taught you. Anna?
It's definitely taught me the value of like my own mental health and well-being, and valuing the things that make me happy and the people that make me happy. That was just like, when you realize, when you're in a position like this and suddenly the world goes into lockdown, you realize what you care about. And I think that's actually really helped across the board. Like, businesses are becoming more holistic, thinking more about how they can help not just their customers, but their employees in a more holistic and more kind of positive way. And I think a lot of brands are looking at how we can try and make the world a better place. And that's definitely something that I've got out of it. You know, I shifted a little bit from more commercial work to more kind of game changing and like policy changing work, because I was like, it's all very well and good that we're doing, we can get some sexy campaigns in the Daily Mail, but like, what am I really doing? What impact am I having on the world? So having this moment really gave me the reflection to kind of to focus more on the things that are going to actually make the world a better place. And then on a lighter note, I picked up my bass guitar again and I'm learning Italian. So
I love that. I can't do languages, so I'm so envious of anybody that's even tried any language. I can't just mentally.
I'm not very good, but it was you've got all this time on your hands. What else are you gonna do?
Yeah, play Sims, I think. Asma?
I think I have survived pretty well, just switching off social media. I know it's going back to that point, but it's okay to do that. It's okay to literally turn your phone on airplane mode and just abandon it for a while. Because I found myself just sucked in that vacuum of scroll, 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 compare, scroll, 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 compare myself. And I know I'm not like made to think like that, but I just ended up thinking like that. And it was just really depressing. So I think it's really taught me not to compare myself. It's not a competition about how productive you want to be today or tomorrow. It's just live and be happy. Like Anna said, just find out what makes you happy and just concentrate on that. And switch off the news when you can. Sometimes it's depressing.
Yeah, totally.
Me especially.
And Josh?
I would say like letting go of like pride about things, because so much like just doesn't matter. Like stuff that you think is like so important, especially with like a creative thing, you got to remember that like you're the person in the world that actually cares about it the most. And even the next person, even like the biggest fan or the most invested person, like they don't care about it as much as you do. So when it all, if everything gets cancelled and all your plans and hopes and dreams like go out the window, like it's okay, and you can like let go of the pride of like that being the thing that you was gonna do. And if you have to do something else, like it's fine, because no one cares as much as you do.
Such a good message. And just quickly, I think it's really important to talk about coming out of lockdown in the next few weeks. How are you guys feeling about returning to the new normal? Asma, I'm going to go straight to you, because you've gone from human contact, literally inking on people's skin, to nothing. Like, what are you feeling about the next few weeks?
I think the voices in my head are like kind of panicking, because when you spend so much time alone, I become to like morph and enjoy it. But now I need to snap out of this bubble. I need to just kind of be a little bit more sociable and just kind of understand that, yes, I will be having intimate conversations with people and tattooing them again, and just connecting with the real world and the real people again. So a little bit anxious, but I'm really looking forward to stepping out of this hibernation.
Yeah, totally. Josh?
Yeah, I'm ready to go. I'm not a lone wolf at all. I need to run with the pack and be amongst people for sure. Obviously I have been taking, the COVID situation seriously, but I'm over it, dude. I'm ready to go.
Done. Anna?
Yeah, same. I'm so done with this. I just want to go back into a big sweaty room and lick people's faces again. But also part of me is just super anxious and is like, if we open up too soon, are we going to end up right back here again? So I'm so conflicted, and I'd like to go back to normal, but I'm scared that it's going to put us right back to lockdown. So I don't know. I don't know what to do. I'm glad it's not my decision, put it that way.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I'm so ready to be in the pub that first weekend. Is it like 16th of April or something? Like I never remember dates, and I remember that date. But at the same time, I'm like, should I go? I don't know. It's very confusing, like you said. Final question, and something to do with our theme. What are your top tips for people on how not to undersell themselves? Asma.
I think in order to not undersell yourself, just know that you are your own person. You know, you're one in however many billion in the world. You have your own story. You cannot express yourself the way anybody else would express you, if that makes sense. So yeah, just know that you have your own story, you have your own little creative bubble, you are your own ideas, and just kind of own it.
Yeah, I love that. Anna?
Yeah, so like I said before, I think imagine you were your favorite creator, and think, what would they do in this situation, and how much would they charge? Even if it's somebody, you know, you can think, just be the Beyonce of your industry for that moment. You know, it doesn't have to be somebody who's on your level. It doesn't have to, you don't have to necessarily think like, what are they charging? That's not what I mean. I mean, like, imagine what they would be doing and how much you would want to pay for their work, and put yourself in their shoes. And I think the other thing I would say, and this was a tip that I got, and this definitely helped me value my own work, which was give the number that makes you just kind of, you know, where you're just a little bit like, oh, should I? Is this a bit cheeky? Like, that's your sweet spot. Little bit over what you probably should be asking for. And if it makes you kind of go, oh, I don't know if I should send this email, then that's the right amount.
I wish you told me that when I first went freelance.
And try it, see how it goes. Honestly, yeah, I increased my fees by 5 times by doing that.
You're inspirational, honestly. I love that. Josh?
Yeah, I would say, like, whatever it is, whatever the game you're in, whether it's music or tattooing or artwork and stuff, kind of respect the game and respect the hustle to the point of like knowing you know, who you're doing business with and what you're doing and what kind of the general numbers in that field at your level are, so that you're not going into it like totally novice and naive and therefore probably going to undersell yourself. Like, do a bit of research and yeah, have a little power in the knowledge of what's going on.
Yeah, echoing that. And then something I remember Anna saying earlier is when I first went freelance, I called up every freelancer I knew and I was like, coffee, let's go meet. And I asked them every question under the sun. And that was the most viable thing I could have done, because I didn't have any work in the first 2 weeks. Like, I didn't earn any money, but all I did was spend my time learning off other people. And I feel like it was, yeah, the best thing I could have done, because especially in a time right now when you feel like you don't have support from certain places, governments, people's things, you do have support somewhere, whether that is like an Instagram page that is just for freelancers or musicians or creatives, or the people that you forget about that are actually in your phone book and willing to support you as well. Yeah, that's all we have time for. Well, I wish I could keep you guys all night because this is so interesting and I didn't even get to half of my questions. But thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you to everyone who joined us on Facebook, YouTube, and on the floor. We have a few more events coming up throughout March under this theme of the holistic creator. One of them is a wellbeing creative session and workshop on the last weekend of March, and it is like a must attend. So I hope we can see you guys for that. But thank you to our panelists.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank
Thanks.
you.